Welcome to episode 44 of Agencyphonics. We are live today on both LinkedIn and YouTube, and I'm delighted to say that Pete is with me today. Pete, welcome.
Hi, how are we doing?
Pete's been missing for the last few episodes because
The last 43.
the last 42 episodes. But I'm glad to say Pete is with us today, and our very special guest is Gareth Simpson from, in brackets, Seeker Digital. I will get to Gareth in a moment. I just want to start off by just, as always, just thanking the people that make this show happen. So a massive thank you to Abby and to Caitlin behind the scenes making all of these episodes happen. Also a massive thank you to Forecast, who are the project management software that seems to be the project management software of choice right now, I would say, amongst our clients and friends in agencies. They very kindly support everything we do. Agencynomics and Agencyphonics is a social enterprise, not-for-profit, and they help us fund our community. So we're eternally grateful for all the support that they give us. Links to them are in the show notes. And yeah, so welcome. Gareth, how are you?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm good, thank you. Really good.
Where in the world are you today?
Over in Bristol, at home in Bristol.
That's almost Seeker HQ. Is it your home, not your office, though? Yeah.
Yeah, spare bedroom. At the start of lockdown, I just ransacked the office and took all the as much equipment as I thought I would need because I didn't know how long we'd be camping out for. And
I mean, with the sign in the background, you definitely could be in the office for sure. So I'm really excited to have you with us as our guest today. You guys achieved an incredible achievement last year. You became a Deloitte Tech Fast 50 business, Tech Fast 50 business, and which is an incredible accolade. What was your percentage growth? I mean, I think you've only been going for about 5 years. So in your first 5 years, you achieved, what was it?
1,683% growth. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is just an incredible number and an incredible percent. And where did you come in the league table?
Number 25. It was
that's good.
It was a tough year, actually. The leaderboard was really tough. So very happy with that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think 1,600 in past years gets you in the top 10. So you're right. That has been and it's amazing that actually you got, despite COVID, you still managed to get in there. But I think that, I think obviously the space that you're operating in is quite a fast growth area as well. So because that kind of reflects your entry into there. Do they do a European one as well? Are you is that
yeah, we're waiting to hear. We've automatically entered into the European awards as well. So just waiting to hear the announcement on that. So we'll see how we come.
So before we start talking more about what Seeker does and what you guys do, it'd be great to get a little bit of a background on you. Now, it's weird because I remember many years ago bumping into a very, very young Gareth. I mean, it must have been how many, 8 years ago?
It was 10. I think Peter and I were just chatting. It's about 10 years ago, we think.
10 years ago, I was in an office, just to tell everyone, I was in an office and this guy walks in. How old would you have been then? Because you're quite young now.
Well, it must have been about 23, 24.
So this 23-year-old walks in the office with what I can only describe as a backpack that looks like it is a jetpack. It's like a radio, clearly that could communicate with Mars or something. And he takes off this, and he's in half army gear, I think. And I was like, what's going on? And so can you tell us a bit about what that was all about?
Well, yeah, at the time I was an army reservist, so it must have been a Friday, because what often happens with the reserves on Friday, you go from your day job, your office job, and straight to the base to do some training over the weekend, sort of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, I used to have to beat the traffic and everything, bring all my kit to the office and shoot straight off. Usually get picked up by someone. So yeah, it's that was a while ago now. I haven't been in for a while.
And so you were basically at the time doing freelance, is that right? Freelance kind of digital marketing work.
Well, when
we had your own business, what was it?
Right. Well, prior to that, I guess. Yeah, when we first met, we was obviously when you were coaching an agency founder that I worked for. Prior to that, I got into tech as a teenager, and I started my first agency Sort of 19, 20 years old at first. It was my dad that got me into SEO. He 15 years ago. I've just done a talk today on Brighton SEO about this actually. So he handed me this book. He had a website, a hobby website about his favorite hobby.
Just ask, what year was this? Because this must have been quite early.
2006.
Oh, okay, yeah.
2006, yeah. So like SEO was very, very new. The internet was, it was still very well established, and everyone had internet connections, but it was slow and very primitive in comparison to what it is now. And SEO was very much a primitive industry still in its beginnings. And my dad handed me. Well, he said to me, "Have you heard of this SEO thing?" And I was like, no, what is it? And he's like, you should learn about it. I think it's going to be big one day. And he's right, because it's
he handed you the SEO for Dummies book.
Well,
and the
I was just going to ask, what was the book that he gave you?
It was an instruction manual for some link building software. And he said, like, check this out. Let me know what you think. I think it's going to help me with my website. And I worked in IT prior to that. I didn't go to uni or anything, but I just loved tech. I'd always been into technology, and so I was interested in the web naturally. And I read this manual for this software. My dad bought it, and I said, "See what you can do with this." So I just experimented, played around with it, and that's how I got into link building. And
amazing. Your dad's now exited Amazon.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we got the website to #1 for its top keyword, its top term at the time, and tons of traffic, and it's still going now. So that was my foray into SEO.
So how did you get? Then did you turn that situation into having your own SEO business? Is that how it started, or?
Yeah, well, I'd always been a gamer, and I just loved the gamification of SEO. It just felt like a big game, and I was playing, completely like playing against the computer, right? And that's what I was doing. So I was making my moves, learning, planning my strategies and things, and just seeing the results, able to rank #1 like throughout the UK for really high profile search term. I just loved it. So I started doing it for other business owners. My dad's, was like, "Hey, look what my son can do," and got me working on their websites, and then eventually that turned into an agency. So at that sort of young age, I was running an agency for a couple of years, I think, but I was so young, and it wasn't much fun just working at home on my own. And eventually, I had an outsourced team, and based all over the world. And but it was just a bit boring being at home. Friday after work drinks weren't great, so I realized I just needed to get out and work for some other businesses. As well.
So forward the clock then. So when you started Seeker, how did that all come about then?
Well, I went on from that job from running that agency to working for other marketing agencies, including 2020 at the time, which I think I remember speaking to you about 20 years ago, and then various agencies and a couple of in-house roles. And I was doing an in-house SEO role, leading an SEO team at the time. On my 29th birthday, it'd always been my plan to go back and start an agency again, and to pick up where I'd left off, basically. And my ambition was to do that before I turned 30. So on my 29th birthday, I went into work, sat down at my desk, and thought, what am I doing? I've only got a year to hit that ambition. So I didn't know I was going to do this at the time. But on my lunch break, I sat in the park on my iPhone, and registered the company on Company's House. Went in after my lunch break, handed in my notice. And a month later, there I am at home in my living room, thinking, right, I've got to pay my rent.
Do you think that it was important for you, because this topic comes up a lot, and I spoke to this incredible entrepreneur this week who I'm going to get on the show, who's started an agency straight out of uni. Do you think, and I always sometimes, I really value, I was 27 when I started, Gareth, and I really value the years that I had working for other people first. Do you think that going back, that really helps you, or do you think it doesn't really make a difference?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it molds your mindset. So, especially not going to uni, if I look at the various people that have influenced and positively impacted me and my understanding and my knowledge. Firstly, it was when I first started that agency, it was the online communities, online bulletin boards and the forums. SEO, I dropped out of college because I just felt the content was out of date. I was studying IT at college, and I thought, I'm learning more online through bulletin boards, especially in such an early industry or young industry like SEO and especially link building. So it was the people online that really educated me to start with, and then working through for a number of agencies. A big network agency, and then a couple of smaller boutique ones. Each of those experiences has added a little bit to my own. I guess that was my education, and even the army actually was really beneficial, especially on the leadership side. So I went on from being a communications systems operator, as my role was, to an instructor, basically in a phase 1 training establishment. So training soldiers. So I got my teaching qualifications. I got loads of relevant qualifications, like to the roles that I'm doing now, fitness and weapon handling, things like that. I was instructing all of those, but it taught me how to lead, and it taught me how to coach and manage, and some of it was really tough as well. So,
Gareth, I've always been curious actually to ask this question. Like, there are a lot of like you see a lot of the kind of and I can't remember the name of it now because the Jocko Willis book, but you've got a lot of kind of Marines and a lot of sort of books that are war based, teaching you about business. There always seems to be this kind of correlation. Do you think that, I think you sort of started to say that I think there is clearly some things that the training gave you, but do you find that there is some really good lessons that you can learn from, from that more military side of things that transfer into business? Because it seems like everyone always talks about there is. Yeah, definitely critical thinking.
In fact, you actually even do like modules and lessons on the leadership course on how to take a scenario in a situation and work through certain questions to ask yourself, and then create a plan and a strategy. And the other thing I would say that's been really helpful is SOPs, processes, procedures, and that's having that understanding, because the Army is such a massive organization, and yet, I mean, it's probably definitely too far for other environments, but they teach everyone to react to certain scenarios in the same way. And whilst Seek is a very open, creative agency with lots of creative work going on, the procedures and processes, you need that infrastructure to be able to scale in the right way, I think. So implementing that earlier on meant that having that backbone in the business meant that as we took on more people, they were able to, they had the support and they had the direction and the guidance on with their own roles and how to move forward with their work and things. So it definitely helped from a.
The thing that I really think that the agency world should take more from, and that is the fact that the Army tends to drill, right? Yeah. They practice time and time again for events that may happen infrequently or may never happen. And I think in agencies, we lack those drills sometimes, like I don't know, there's certain times like being practicing your pitches so you're ready when you have to pitch, practicing asking maybe difficult questions that you have to do when you're qualifying or when you're trying to ask for referrals, or when you're selling. I think there should be more role plays, and there should be more drilling in agencies, to actually, especially around communication and stuff like that, because some of the events that happen in agency don't happen that often, right? And when they do, like negotiation's a good one, Pete. I guess you don't often have to negotiate, do you?
No, you don't. I mean, probably 3 or 4 times a year for something, of reasonable size. And you need to be match fit for those situations. Like you say, pitching, for example, in the traditional sense, probably doesn't happen that often. And having the systems and processes in the background, making sure you're ready for those situations is vitally important, I think.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and I think, what about the sort of the way that they organize themselves? Because I know the organizational charts, Gareth, the sort of a lot of the 20th century sort of org charts came originally from a sort of military, according to Frederick Laloux's book Reinventing Organizations, came from sort of military and religious hierarchies. Do you think I think the modern army works very differently, doesn't it? It kind of empowers, and it builds a lot of autonomy into kind of units and stuff. So,
Yeah, I think it's probably a lot more of that now, but it certainly is. It can be quite rigid, and that was a big transformational change, certainly for me, coming out from that style of leadership. And I've now learned to cherry pick the bits from what I've learned there for the agencies in times, things like pitches, like, there's a set structure. When we take on a new client, we go through that process, the gap analysis, the competitor research, the keyword research. It's different for every client, but it's the same for every client in the same way. The stages, the project, especially in the beginning, is the same until we've built their bespoke strategy. So the fact finding, the discovery, is very much the same. And now, you mentioned reinventing organizations, and something we've talked about, the teal organization, and moving towards that culture is what we're striving for.
And so you've now set this agency up, and you're 29 years old. Did you in your head have a vision for how big it was going to be, what it was going to? I mean, obviously, clearly, you knew the type of services you wanted to offer.
Yeah.
But did you? I mean, a couple of things really, because the SEO world has massively transformed in the past 10, 11 years, since that kind of massive sort of crash that happened around, the poor quality link building.
Yeah.
And what was that update Google did? And it kind of like just everyone lost their positions, didn't they?
April 12th, 2009, I think, was the Penguin 1.0.
Yeah, Penguin, that was it.
Yeah.
And overnight, everyone lost the really high positions because they'd had poor quality link building going on, or deemed to be poor quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I was working for a rather large SEO agency, about 60, 70 people at the time. And there was, it was commonplace, the sort of link building tactics that were going on right across the board. I guess the industry didn't know any better. It was still in its infancy still. And there was, of course, the work wasn't always adding value to the web. So, and Google and the other search engines, of course, are in the business of putting the best websites in front of its users for a given search term. So the link building tactics that were going on then were kind of muddying the waters a little bit on that, and creating extra noise, which prevents Google, from being able to identify, the best sites. So it was the right thing. It was a good thing for the industry.
Yeah. But had you picked up on because you obviously started sort of, I personally think in the last 24, 36 months, it feels to me like your world has exploded significantly. So you've had 5 great years of growth. But did you spot this when you started? Did you suddenly sort of see a sea change, a change of direction in terms of the way, or was it just lucky timing, a good guess?
I think we were probably a bit before the time when it became kind of mainstream again. And at the time it was still, everybody went to ground, and nobody was, the big corporates, after investing huge amounts in link building prior to that, because it was profitable, it was very, very effective work. the big corporates at the board level were saying, okay, no more of this, and then it went quiet. It was still it's still happening, still going on, but it certainly wasn't mainstream. But I think what's happened is and then that's around the time when I started Seeker, and I thought this can be done well. This can be done in the right way, in a way that adds value to the web, that Google will like, and of course is also effective for the clients, and of course also for the agencies. So it just came about just everything can be, any tactic can be made bad or good, I think, really, depending on the motivations and the quality around it. So I set out to do link building well back when people weren't interested in it, but because I'd been working at home. I started this agency. I sat in my living room. I started getting back into link building, and it was really effective. It was like what I was doing was working really well. I was white labeling for other agencies at the time, and doing the link building work for their clients, because agencies didn't want to do it either. Also didn't know how, but they knew they needed it. And so there was it was just before the cusp of it all sort of taking off again, and then we sort of kept shouting about it and kept winning clients because of the results that that it brought. And I think it comes down to the quality. And I was the first. I often say this: the ratio when I speak at masterminds and things like that, I see that other agencies get the ratios wrong. They have all SEOs and no creatives, or not enough creatives and content. The ratio for us was it wasn't until the 7th person that I hired another SEO. Prior to that, everyone was a creative or a writer, because the web's all about content, right? And links go between content, links, link to and from content. So that shows how much we prioritized the creative aspect. I could generate enough work on my own as the SEO for 5 or 6 writers or designers, etc.
I don't want to generalize too much, but I think Pete and I obviously have got a reasonably big network of agencies, and we would say that it probably feels to us, Pete probably, I don't know whether he feels exactly the same, but almost like it's sort of the ratio of paid search and paid search to do a bit of SEO to pure play SEOs was 8-2. You wouldn't find many only SEO agencies.
Yeah.
And if you did find them, obviously they'd fall into a couple of camps. Maybe some were quite technical. Mm-hmm. But then what's interesting is that actually when I look at often those paid search, those paid search and and organic search, and maybe they do some paid media as well. But if they don't do paid media, they don't have that necessarily that creative. They're missing that kind of content creative PR side. And clearly you've tuned into that quite early. And obviously you're not the only agency in the country that's growing really fast right now who specializes in this particular area. I know you have your own niches you work in, but I think and really, I guess, I mean, I talked to you a bit about this, but it felt like almost the SEO world was converging more right with the PR world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
you saw that happening, did you?
Yes, absolutely. And we were borrowing PR tactics and PR ways of doing things and applying it to our link building campaigns, still from an SEO perspective, very much, which was tactical, technical, a sharp edge to it, and it got results. With that, using that style of work and applying it and knowing how the algorithm works, and how to play to the nuances of the Google algorithm, give it what it wants to understand the authority and the relevancy of the site. And it was very, very, very effective, and really took off. And it went on, big brands started to take note again, publicly listed companies, London Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange brands, and wanted to invest into link building again, because they could see, actually this is all above board stuff now. This is really good. This is actually, it's content marketing, it's digital PR, it's creativity,
It's almost like you gamify it in an ethical way rather than gamify it in a manipulation, in a manipulative, negative way, right? It's like
exactly, because we could see, and there's not, I think there's nothing wrong with that. If we look at digital PR campaigns and they're leaving value on the table as we see it, because they've missed a few SEO tricks, and I'm like, they've just done this, or if they've just been able to drive it through to the right category or the right page in the site, or they've got their internal linking structure right, or the campaign was better aligned with the right search terms and things like that, it would have had not only the PR benefits, because of course there's so much benefit. PR has its own goals and objectives, and it's like, but they can also hit the SEO objectives at the same time with an awareness of how SEO works and how the algorithm works. So we very much brought those two together. And I always say we've got a slide which is PR SEO with the seeker pipe in the middle. And in computer science, the pipe means and or. So PR and or SEO. So it's been mashing those two techniques together, and there wasn't, it was a unique makeup of agency. And people used to say, "Are you an SEO agency or are you a PR agency?" And we were very much in the middle of both. And then we've expanded now into like the full spectrum of certainly of SEO.
One of the things that we noticed, Gareth, was when COVID struck last year, the pandemic first struck, actually a lot of the people who worked in the paid search areas, a lot of their work, they'd always been very proud of the monthly retainers that they get, and all of a sudden their work got paused. But all of a sudden their client said, "Hey, listen, look, we're not doing any paid search, but if you do any SEO, we'll pay for that." And I definitely noticed a demand from the client side, almost understanding that now it was about long-term investment, and that quick win SEO stuff couldn't really work, right? Because there was, there wasn't maybe they need to build demand. They've already got the supply. What they need now is more demand for the long term. So everyone started investing in it. Did you notice that as well? Well, you didn't really do paid search, so you probably didn't. But
we don't. No, we don't. But we often have to compete with it on as a channel with our clients, because either they've got their in-house paid team quite often. And this is fresh in my mind because I've just come out of a big renewal pitch actually, and I've been crunching the numbers on this. And it's very easy to get. I understand it, for marketing leads and directors and things to go down the route of paid, because it's low risk, it brings the consistent results, it brings immediate results, but the downside is it's costly. And I've just been crunching the numbers on cost per lead for a PPC, versus SEO for a client. And whilst they both started off about the same over time, the SEO CPL has come down because it's exponential. Once you rank, it's semi-static. Of course, the web is alive in some ways. Things do ebb and flow, but generally you'll stay there. It's earned media, right, versus owed media. And if you forecast that for 2-3 years. Time, then the cost per lead has come down right from 400 quid down to £10. So I don't know if that was answering your question or not.
I think I guess it was more around the fact that I guess demand. I think it's become, as you said earlier on, really, it's become a bit more obvious now that you do need to invest in the SEO. I think people are a bit more sure about the quick win scenario, but ultimately that CTR is going to be, the CTA is going to be a lot less over time to make that investment. But it doesn't make one or the other right or wrong, right? You've got to do both. But I'm really fascinated about. I really like the way that over time, agencies, traditional agency models and modern agency models have kind of come together. You sort of see. Maybe originally, advertising marketing agencies, converging with more digital areas like just, creative and social, for example. And it's very interesting. And now seeing PR almost. Do you think a lot of PR agencies will start wanting to buy SEO companies now to try and add value or recruit in that area, or do you think they'll just always stick to what they know?
Well, it will just become the de facto, right? It's just going to be the default. Like, we'll probably just lose the digital in it all. Digital,
yeah.
But even between digital versus SEO, right, there's still, they need to work together. And yeah, maybe they'll acquire SEO agencies, because with that capability, it's certainly symbiotic. When you combine those two strategies together, you can get win on all fronts. So
Pete,
yeah, I guess so.
Do you think it would be the other way around? Do you think SEO businesses might start buying PR agencies for the clients?
Yes, exactly. I guess the SEO world is much newer industry, isn't it? So I guess the PR agents, the global, the networks, etc.
Let me ask you a question then, because it's quite an interesting one. So you focus in technology niche, don't you? So would you see now there being more, like, as you scale, and obviously you're growing very quickly now, at some point, would you see there being a big opportunity to maybe go and acquire a PR business working in technology, because they have, I don't know, the relationships with the journalists they might have, would that be something that you would now do? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've done that on like an individual level, acquiring that skill set in-house. And that's how we moved from, my background as a technical SEO into the PR tactics, by hiring people who had that awareness and had done PR work in the past, train them up on the technical aspects of SEO, and then you've got somebody who can deliver at Seeker on the style of work that we do. So yeah, absolutely, buying a PR agency is a good fit, but we're already there, like, in terms of our capability.
Yes. So today, what are you like now? Obviously, now you had an office and a team before COVID. Talk to us about, I guess, what's happened through that period for you, and where's the future as well, in terms of your now an office. It'd be good to know what that journey's. Just share what that journey's been like.
Since lockdown and everything, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, how many people were you going into lockdown?
Good question.
So around
less 20. Not quite.
So you around 20 people, and then you go into lockdown. Everyone's suddenly gone remote, and you didn't renew your office, did you? Is that right? What did you do?
Yeah, our lease lapsed halfway through lockdown.
Yeah. Well, that's not quite the full story, because just before the Jan-Feb meetings we had, we were literally looking around new offices that were like 4,000 square feet, and you were that far away from
the
office?
You saved me, actually. You saved us a lot of money there, because we were looking at growing and moving into a new off. We were growing, and we actually the old office was holding us back from hiring. At this time, we were taking on as many ad hoc rooms in this building as we could. And it's like, right, we need a bigger office so we can, because we're growing so fast. So we were on the hunt. We'd been looking for like 6 months for the perfect place in Bristol city centre. Been to lots of viewings, and started to enter and found somewhere really, really great, perfect for, well, I mean, it was probably still a little bit too small. And we started to enter into the negotiations. And we were doing that. Pete was helping with that side of things as well, of course. And and then lockdown happened. It got announced. I don't even know if the official lockdown had happened, but certainly the rest of the world. The rest of the world was starting to lock down, and we were like, hang on here, what's going on? I actually sent the whole office home before the government announced it, a couple of days earlier at least, because I thought, oh, this is scary. Like, I don't know, I've got to think about the people. So I said, we're already really good at, remote working anyway. So I was like, everyone just take your laptops home. We're going to work from home until further notice. And
1 year later.
Yeah, exactly. And anyway, and then I thought, God, do I sign this? We actually had the negotiated contract in front of us.
I think from my recollection of it, it felt like you were being swept along a little bit in the process, and almost you were too loyal and ethical to pull out at the end. And it was just like, I think it was just the right call at the right time.
It absolutely was. Yeah. And
no one knew how long this was going to go on for, or, you know, the size and scale of it. So
yeah, didn't want to miss out on this like, you know, this great office. And we just done all these negotiations.
Had the helipad, didn't it, and the swimming pool, that one.
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't want to miss out on all of that. So I remember calling Pete and I was like, Pete, like, should I sign this? And straight away, no hesitation, no, don't sign it. You'll get a better deal anyway. So
yeah. What I'm curious to know is, because I know you have a reasonably youngish team. I know that you know it's a younger team compared with maybe some of the agencies I go into. What is the plan now for you guys moving forward? Will you always now work fully remote?
No, we're on the hunt for a new office as we speak. Already all the agents are getting in touch. As soon as the government announcement came out, the mail shot went. It was primed already. So
how's your team feeling about what are they going to do? Have you spoken to them yet and surveyed them, or is it too early to find out?
Yeah, it's absolutely been like a joint decision. What does everyone want? What does everyone think? And the general consensus is everybody likes a little bit of working from home. But they also like a little bit of working in the office too. So it's going to be a combination of that. We never really had, you know, that many restrictions anyway. We had, it's funny now, but we had working from home was like one of the perks on the list of like perks.
Now we've got an office. It's the one that
yeah, that's the perk now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we were already really good. Everyone had an allowance of.
Actually, joking aside, it probably will be a perk in the future. We have an office.
Yeah, we actually have one. So we're going to go for the hybrid model, and already we're hiring people further afield. So it opens up the catchment area for talent, which has been a good move. So we're going to have an office, and we're carrying on with what we set out to do, and. But we're also not going to be restricted by the office either.
What was because obviously you were in the perfect position, having managed to exit your office contract last August, and been working from home, and you're well capable of doing that as an agency. When you canvassed the team and asked for their opinion, what was the main driver in terms of getting back an office? What was the feedback from them?
Community, being with their mates again. Big, the laughing and joking, the impromptu chats, the spontaneity, the laughs and the jokes, just the silly stories. Spencer, you shared on LinkedIn the other day or a week or two ago, just before, during a big pitch, and you're all in the office late, and you're just playing silly games and stuff. And those memories that, whilst I also enjoy just focusing at home, sitting here and getting uninterrupted and getting, breaking the back on a project or something. It's those memories, it's the experience, the agency experience, and the lifestyle that we're lacking. I get it for the big corporate. So when I walk into those, some of those offices, like it's. I wouldn't like to be in that environment either. But the agency world, thankfully, is it's a cool, vibrant, fun, friendly, open, progressive atmosphere, and it would be a shame for us to all lose that, I think. So
we were talking to I was on Clubhouse talking to Tina Fegent, who is a procurement expert, and even she was saying she feels that the clients will want the agency to go back to the offices, because ultimately clients often like escaping their businesses, their homes now maybe, and their offices, and going and visiting their teams and stuff. So I do think it's going to be a benefit to the clients as well. Mm-hmm. And actually talking about that, Gav, because I know your clients are actually global, aren't they? They're not all in the UK, are they? You've got a good percentage that are overseas, isn't it?
Yeah, probably about 50-50, I would say.
Yeah. So you had that before COVID, though, was it?
From the beginning, 5 years ago, we were at some point, it's been up to like 70-80%. Stateside, North America, etc.
And so you, in a way, because I felt, I actually did a talk at Bristol Media, funnily enough, very near you. And I said, I felt like regional areas like Bristol would really benefit post-COVID, because I think it would make long distance. By the way, and I think I've seen this in a recent report. I know this is a fact. Like a lot of our clients have increased their overseas clients in the past 12, or not just overseas, but even the regionality of their clients in the last 12 months. So I guess, but it hasn't really changed for you, because tech businesses have always been pretty good at working remotely and working on video anyway.
Yeah, we from the outset we started working with big tech, and a lot of that came from America, of course, so and Canada and so on. So we had very few clients in the UK, and at first, and like we have a lot more now, as naturally we've just like organically grown our UK market share. But even still, in Bristol, it's we're not, certainly not a local business or even a national business. So you win one client in one area, and they move on, and they liked the work that you did, so they sign you up, or pass on referrals. So it's just happened naturally that way, working with big tech brands.
And Bristol's become a really big, like, I know for there are certain pockets of the UK that have really grown. Edinburgh's one, Bournemouth is another, but Bristol was one of the largest amount of tech investments in Europe was going into Bristol. And it's interesting because Pete and I, we had some dealings with an American organization in last year, and they were looking to expand into the UK, and they actually said that Bristol was their target location.
Right.
So it clearly, from an overseas perspective, Bristol is seen as an attractive destination. I'm guessing the universities, I'm guessing the culture of Bristol, like it's young people, was it voted for students, I think voted it the happiest place to live or something like that.
Yeah.
What are the other advantages, as far as you're concerned, about Bristol as a regional part of the UK?
Sorry, say that last bit again.
What do you think the real benefits are of being in Bristol?
Right. There's lots of talent, lots of great talent here, and like you say, it's the universities. It's also brands like Dyson being here, and I've been going to, before lockdown, before the pandemic, I was going to the artificial intelligence and machine learning meetups, and it was really interesting to see how many were Dyson or ex-Dyson, and then all of these other app development companies as well, moving in from internationally into Bristol. And I think there was a big app development company from Singapore, where they were looking for somewhere to put their a regional HQ that was had good tech talent, but also was more cost effective in terms of running an office there. So it's just started all of these offshoots and all these startups in the area. So there's lots of development, lots of tech in the area. So
do you think that in the sort of medium to long term, you could see yourself opening an office stateside, or do you think now you'll still just keep the office and then just expand your recruitment globally to add to a hybrid model?
Yeah, well, we'd already, again, pre-lockdown, we started doing the research. I was over in the States like a third of the year at the time, or all over the place, really. But I was certainly out of the UK for a third of the year, and I thought we may as well get an office over here. So started looking into that. So that will be back on the cards soon. Same for London as well, just to have, because I was up and down, into London quite regularly. It's not that far. We've got the high-speed rail link from Bristol now, from Virgin, which is an hour and 15 minutes. So
that's amazing. I think one of the trains from where I live takes longer than that to get to London.
Exactly.
30 miles outside of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, straight into Paddington from Temple Meads.
Yeah, didn't they break the record or something? I'm sure I read an article where they'd broken the records for the fastest ever train from Bristol to London or something like that.
Yeah, that was the new high-speed rail link. Yeah. I don't think anyone's been able to take advantage of yet, but maybe, I don't know if it's launched yet or not. But it's a Virgin line.
Amazing. Well, that's definitely, I think those transport is. So do you feel more optimistic just about, in a post-COVID world, about the sort of less London-centric, there's been a lot of London centricity. I think 62% of all businesses were based, in London or the Southeast. And I think, are you more hopeful that the economic outlook for the UK will be more, will be more diverse? Will it be spread out more around the UK now because of it?
Yeah, I really hope so. I think it's the right thing for the economy, and we're getting lots of, because what's happening is everything's getting so saturated. Property prices and things. We've hired a significant number of people who have moved out of the London, ecosystem to the somewhere they wanted to get out of it all and go somewhere where they had a bit more of a balance of, somewhere cool to live, but also they can get good jobs in tech and things like that. So and hopefully that's something positive that we can take from the pandemic, that it doesn't all need to be centralized around this one nucleus, which certainly isn't going to be good for the environment. And and certainly with tech, our clients, we do our monthly reporting calls, or sometimes weekly ad hoc project based calls, visit them quarterly. So and we were doing that before, so why not?
Amazing. And so Cactus has made a comment on LinkedIn. I don't know if he's still listening, because he made it about half an hour ago, but he said, Gareth is busy today. I'm sure I watched a Brighton SEO talk from you earlier.
Yes, I did. I had a Brighton SEO prezzo earlier on. I
wanted just to talk to me a little bit about Brighton SEO, because I think, I've obviously been aware of it for a long time. I've never really, I did do a bit of SEO of my agency, but I haven't really got involved with it. But everyone's always told me such great things about it. What does Brighton SEO, how does it help you, and what does it do for you and your agency?
Yeah, so I guess it's really important to me on a personal level, and to the agency as well. We were just talking about all of this remote working, but it's there the opportunities. Like, if we make the meetups meaningful, let's meet up on a maybe less regular basis, but make it really, really worthwhile. And Brighton SEO really represents that for me. It's a time when I get to see, it's a time when all my American friends and clients and suppliers and things, they're flying over for the event. So I get to see, old friends, reunite with old friends. I see people from all over the UK as well, who I, friends again, people I work with. And everybody just gets together into this. Brighton, it's like the Glastonbury of SEO, I think someone described it as. So I go there, it's a whole week now. The event's only, 2 days, one training day and one conference day. It got to the point that, the last in-person one, I was going down for a whole week, and I was just staying in Brighton for the week because people are coming and going. I just camped out there, and we're just going out for dinners and drinks and having client meetings and things. So it's really important to me on that basis, on a personal, social level. The professional aspects of it, aside, because I've made some amazing, great friends over the many years working in this industry. So go on.
But you do a lot of training there as well, don't you? So tell me about that. What sort of stuff do you do there?
So I started, and now with my good colleague Laura, we run the link building training course for Brighton SEO. So that's a 1-day course training in-house SEOs, PRs on link building. Many agencies as well come onto our course and learn about link building. Of course, we're giving away some of our knowledge and things, but and then which is always fun. I always enjoy teaching, and then of course it's really good validation of our work and what we do, and quite often people can go away and implement that stuff themselves in their own agency, but we also get some really big uptake from it as well. After the course, we want you to come and work for our brand. So So yeah, that's always I'm usually speaking as well on the Friday. So it's a Thursday's training course, Friday on the stage and things. So so it's good fun. It's a busy time. So it's today, and after this, I'm moderating an expert panel at Brighton SEO as well. So I've got 4 or 5.
Bringing it in today.
I know, yeah, it's a bit of a superstar day today for these.
So just really, I guess one sort of final question really from me. I'm really, at the moment, I'm quite kind of, I've always been a bit of a futurist myself, right? So you'd have loved it when I started doing SEO back in 1999. I could get anyone to the top of any search engine because all you did was you rebranded them with an exclamation mark at the front of their name, and everything was sorted in character order. So you just go straight to the top of the search engine. But I'm always a bit of a futurist. I always encouraging the people I work with to look at the now, next, and future of what they're doing, and you're probably not aware of that. But tell me, what is the sort of the next and the future now for the SEO world? I mean, I'd love to hear where you've obviously got a good intuition because you've been doing this for almost 15, 16 years now, I think. So where do you think where do you think the next stage of it will be?
Yeah, well, I think it's really important to always be on that. I learned back when I was 21 and I started that when I was running that agency. The tactics that I was using became out of date. Google no longer rewarded those sort of tactics. So it was ineffective, and I've learned always being into tech. I'm fascinated by the development of technology, AI. Machine learning, and learning about those just as a hobbyist has taught me a lot about the algorithm, and it's enabled me to preempt the algo as well, right? Where would Google be taking it in future? And we know where, because they've got this search quality rating guidelines document, which lists all of the things that they want the algorithm to do, but they still need humans to manually train it's training data for the machine learning algos. So that, and then also just preempting, thinking ahead, and it's
interpreting almost what the machine learning is, how it's deciding how to rank potentially sites. You're going to have to almost try to anticipate what machine learning is doing, right?
Exactly. So I'm here experimenting with Google's natural language understanding APIs, which they sell as a product for apps and platforms to use.
Is that TensorFlow stuff?
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, TensorFlow. An earlier framework, I think, but they that's the same technology that's built into their algorithm, right? It's built by the same engineers. So if we've got access to that API and we can learn about it, use it, then we can understand what's capable, what it's capable of, and then if we project forward and think about what it's capable of in future, build for that, because the algorithm is going to get the NLP stuff. Google's getting so good at reading content, and not just the keyword matching as it used to be. It's all about the semantics and the understanding of that post, and link building is also going to go that way as well. So
websites will adopt AI to combat it, so they can perform better and link lists better as well.
Yes, well, I mean, they already are. I mean, SEO tools and platforms and software are trying to take their NLP frameworks and use that to optimize content and align it with the algorithm. So, but ultimately, what it comes down to is do what you would. And my head of SEO many years ago, when I worked at an agency, he said, when I was trying to work out how to structure a website for SEO, and he said, well, what would you do as a user? It was a party website, right? Organizing red balloons or green balloons of different shapes. He's like, how should I organize this data? And he said, well, what would you do as a human? Forget about SEO and forget about Google. What seems most logical sense to you? And then go with that. And by taking that approach, we're able to because the algorithm's just going to catch up to, it's just trying to do what we can do as humans, but at scale by sorting the whole of the web's information and ranking it in order. So that's why things like digital PR are going to be future-proof tactics. And actually, Google just this year, despite often not being particularly fond of link building, has praised digital PR type tactics for this reason, because you're putting the user first, you're putting content first, rather than trying to pick shortcuts.
Also, really, Google should be really happy, because ultimately you're encouraging getting content not just on in digital environments, but in traditional environments that then are taking people to printed journalism ends up going online, and those links end up going back. So ultimately it kind of completes an ecosystem as well, doesn't it? I think, in a way. I mean, I'm sure it's all digital first and it goes out to being published, but in a way it brings everything. And a lot of those big publishers obviously carry a lot of weight, I would imagine, with the link building. So Pete, does your door just move by itself then? Sorry.
I had to move it because the builder who's coming here Monday decided to turn up and have a very loud conversation with my wife about what he's doing on Monday. So I can't shut the door.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it at all. No.
I really wish we'd heard what was going to happen to your house on Monday. Yeah. Is the roof coming off?
Part of the roof is coming off, actually.
Is it? Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just really, I know that you've only got a couple of minutes left before we have to finish, but also, look, I know that, once, although I've met you years ago, you and Pete actually then met kind of along the journey before I came back and started getting more involved with you guys. How did that all come about? What happened?
Well, I think Gareth is one of the very, very few people in life that's actually seen me speak publicly.
Yeah, that was it. It was a talk.
Really? Right? Yeah, one of my first gigs.
Yeah, cash flow. People speaking on cash flow after like 6 months into running Seeker. Cash flow was always at the forefront of my mind, right? Bootstrapped.
I was amazed. I was amazed that you came to speak to me afterwards, because everybody else ran out.
Well, that's the thing, I'd met you once before. I didn't pop down as much as Spencer did when back when you coaching other agencies. But I obviously knew, so I came and knew who you were, come and had a chat, and was really impressed with the talk, and just thought, we've got to get him in. We've got to get him in. When cash flow, he's talking about cash flow.
I'll send you that 20 quid that we agreed.
Pete came in for one workshop session at the end of our first 6 months, and gave us enough financial guidance for a year to get us by through the first year. And that was really, really valuable, really helpful info. So we got, because all the finance was all outsourced and things at the time. So and then year two was like, that was good advice. Like, Pete, can you come in a little bit more often? And I think we went on to quarterly then.
The way I tell the story, it was like once the first year, twice the second year, and then maybe
Yeah.
It's like, we're bored for you to come twice now this year.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So so came in, and it just increased from there to the point, now, with you on board as well, Spencer, it's like, monthly.
Yeah, though I've not actually seen you because we've been in COVID since I started working with you.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen, actually the last time was the London meetup, and we did the walk around London, remember?
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was good. I got that in just in time, I think, because after that,
it was literally like 2-3 days or lockdown. I remember we were on South Bank, so everyone knows what we did a Street Wisdom. Check out streetwisdom.org. It's a mindfulness walk event, and in fact, I got an Agencyphonics cap the other day because someone who came there happened to meet another agency owner, and they ended up winning this major pharmaceutical account partnership. So, please, everyone, come to our events. They can be good for partnerships and new business. But it was a really alternative event, wasn't it? Because it was more about mindfulness. It was more about walking, observing, and then we had a nice lunch and dinner afterwards. But I was quite nervous that day. I was kind of like you, aware that the world was about to turn. And At least we got that one thing in. So I'm looking forward to some more real life stuff.
Yeah.
So and thank you so much for joining us. I'm really aware of time because I know that you have to get on now. Thanks for sharing your story, and I just really wish you all the best of luck with the next part of the journey, and just congratulations again on that Deloitte Tech Fast 50 achievement. It's amazing, and your growth is fast, and it sounds like it's really reasonably fast and controlled growth, not fast and out of control growth with it, which I think is a really, really powerful thing to have. So good luck this afternoon with your event.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here.
Thank you, Gareth.
So thanks everyone for tuning in, listening. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. And I guess leave you with all the thought, which is what's the now, next and future of the services that you're doing in your agency. Look, thanks so much. If you haven't already started to follow us on Clubhouse, we now have our Agencynomics Club up and live, and we're starting to set up some more regular events there. So please follow me, follow Pete, and follow the Agencynomics Club. You're more than welcome there. And always, please like and subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube today. And we are also available on Spotify for all the back episodes, as well as iTunes as well. So listen, thanks everyone. Have a great weekend. And that is a wrap.
Thank you.